Hello, hello. The birds are singing, the trees are swaying, and this is Tentacles, the podcast from Crown and Reach. We are feeling our way through the murky, but also quite sunny waters of strategy and operations in an uncertain world.
And you're Corissa.
I'm Corissa.
And I'm Tom.
And we are both sitting on a bench that Tom has hoisted up to the very furthest reaches of our north-facing garden to catch some rays.
The final rays, and it was very heavy, and so I'm a little bit out of breath. But we're going to carry on anyway. And I was wondering if you remember something I think we talked about maybe 10 years ago, which feels like it's relevant again. And
we didn't even know each other 10 years ago.
Good point. Maybe it was 8 years ago. But we were talking about security measures in hospitals and how they backfired.
Well-intentioned security measures. But people are great at being people and like to find their way around things. Yeah, remind me of the details of this story.
So there were two details that really stick out for me. One is you've got your doctor sitting there looking after patients, and they get up and run around a lot. And you want to make sure that their workstation is secure, right? So
Sounds
what they do,
good. Yeah, security, important.
Very important. There's confidential records on there. People could mess with it. Bad times happen.
I don't want people finding out about my hemorrhoids.
So you talk about it on the podcast.
Maybe I don't really have them. You'll never know. I mean, you know, but no one else will know.
Yes, and the doctor. But so the doctor's there writing up the notes about your hemorrhoids, and then he gets up and walks away, and there's a little proximity sensor sat on the desk connected to the computer that locks the screen for the doctor.
Right, so the doctor doesn't need to remember to lock the screen, it does it for them.
Brilliant, isn't it? For anyone who's worked in an open plan office and has forgotten to lock their screen when they stepped away from the desk
has been trolled mercilessly. Oh, we saw some real zingers in our time.
We did. Someone who installed it was like a little app that just rotated everything on someone's screen by 2 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So nothing lined up anymore.
That is just such a great use of genius. Forget the day job. Just do that.
Yeah, it wasn't us. Got to be clear. We would never do something like that.
Anyway, okay, so auto-locking proximity sensor at the hospital.
Sounds brilliant, doesn't it? The problem is, GPs are getting up from their workstation all the time to go and do a check on a patient and then go back and write the details in. So they kept having to log back into their station, and that's annoying. So they came up with a cunning workaround, which was just to put an upturned cup over the proximity sensor.
like putting a blanket over a parrot's cage.
Yep. Keep it.
Nighttime now, bye-bye. Okay, wow. So, right, so that was, yes, that's how that played out then.
Yep. And as one of my previous bosses would have said, in one foul swoop, that completely wiped out the point of the proximity sensor and made it completely unsecure by trying too hard to be secure.
Unsecure, but at least the hospital staff or doctors, whatever they were, at least they were able to actually do the rest of their job and not spend all day fannying around with them, logging in. Oh, yep. It's a tricky one. And what was the other? There was another example.
Well, the other one sort of intermingles with that one, which is obviously because you want good security, you've got to have people refreshing their passwords all the time. So something like every week or every fortnight, people had to come up with a new password. You've probably been through this. You've been through this.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And oh, my goodness, yes. I'm not proud of my evolution of passwords.
Oh, yeah, the system where you just write the same password but increment the number on the end.
Oh, but now everybody knows. I don't do that anymore. It's because we don't make ourselves. Anyway.
No, everybody does
Giving
that.
away all our security secrets.
Yeah. Now it's password 6. That's fine. Anyway, this one had a lot of rules in place, and it made it so that you had to do a good new secure password. Do you know the problem with good new secure passwords? No one can remember them. So the hospital staff took to writing the password on a post-it note and sticking it to the side of the machine.
I mean, it's logical. It's logical.
And again, a brilliant security measure, absolutely ruined in one foul swoop.
Yes. Good. I sense there's a moral of the story here, and it has something to do with our friend Geoff, who we've talked about previously.
Yeah, so he's from a very prior podcast. And Geoff is someone who, he's been making Excel spreadsheets for the business for many, many years, and he's got this very idiosyncratic Excel spreadsheet with some hard-coded numbers in it that only he knows how to operate. But it runs the business, and it's incredibly valuable. And Geoff loves tinkering with his spreadsheet. Well, now he's got a new tool to tinker with, and that's one of the AI coding tools. Insert your favourite one here. There are probably 5 new ones in the time while we're recording this podcast. But yeah, he now has the ability to pop into his terminal window and vibe code himself up whatever automation or little piece of boring tiny tool, bit of software that he would like. And it's idiosyncratic, and it works for him. And as all of the vibe coded software is, it's absolutely riddled with security holes and exposes valuable data and does all of those terrible things.
There we go. So Geoff's little vibe-coded tiny tool is the equivalent of a password on a Post-it note stuck to the side of his computer.
That kind of idea. So then Geoff's administrators and the people who care about security are going to come in and start applying security rules and putting in place proximity sensors and password updating rules and things like that. And the inevitable thing that's going to happen is Geoff is going to find ways to work around them.
Or he's going to quit in a blaze of fury.
And go work somewhere else where he can just vibe code for fun. Probably start his own company. Vibe code his way into oblivion.
I'd back him. So yeah, where does that leave us?
Well, it leaves us fundamentally at the point of evolution that we're currently at, where there's these 2 really strong stories happening at the same time, which I'm sure you've seen in various bits of news. So if you go and look at what really experienced engineers are saying, we talked about this on the previous podcast, I think. There was somebody saying each individual little bit of coding that the tool does looks perfectly reasonable, but when you try and put all of them together, it's incoherent, it's a mess. And when you put it through security tests, it's full of holes, it's got all of the bad smells, and it's highly risky. There are documented cases already of these coding tools just deleting databases, more than one now, like deleting stuff that can't be recovered. There are more than one story about it just exposes all the user records openly on the web so anyone can download them from the HTTP. Or there are various security holes, prompt injection capabilities, all that sort of stuff. So people are doing it, but it is coming with this massive side order of risk and danger. On the other hand, you've got the teams who are now shifting to, we only do vibe coding. Engineering is no longer about writing the code, now you are context engineering. And so there are companies who are like shifting their whole organisation to no more writing code, you just have to use these tools.
Those 2 examples sound very similar. The people are vibe coding and also organisations are using more AI.
Oh, well, so the 2 stories are organisations vibe coding using AI, saying this is it, this is the future, this is better than our engineers can do, and it's faster, and this is the way forward, and it's the only way.
Okay, so
and then there's the people saying, hang on a minute, this is incredibly dangerous, this isn't the way forward, they can't do this.
I'm with you now.
Yeah,
right.
Those are the 2 stories.
So where is Geoff in all of this? What do we do with Geoff? I'm invested in his story.
Oh yeah, well, I think Geoff is a tinkerer, isn't he? So he's finding his way through it. We're all still making sense of this at the moment, and what is actually going on, what is the direction of travel. I think a lot of people are wondering, where should I invest my career sort of capital? Where should I learn? Should I be trying to do vibe coding? There are plenty of consultants who will be selling you now, hey, come and do my boot camp, I'll get you started, and you can replace all of your developers and just do all of your software over the weekend. So that's one story that's happening, which is, let's say, overselling things just a little bit. And then there's, and I think Geoff is probably drawn towards that because he wants to just get access to these tools.
Yeah, it's fun. It's what makes his job worth doing to him.
It is.
So Geoff is kind of in the 2 worlds we've described. It's either Geoff keeps doing his vibe coding bits and bobs, but people try to de-risk it and put protocols in place, and it sucks all the fun out of it for Geoff. Or in the other world, it's basically Geoff and all the other Geoffs at the company are made redundant because because it's
Because
going
now
to be
the boss
done. The boss is
can
it's all
vibe code
gonna,
it for him.
right, exactly. So it's just going to be you don't need people doing it at a frontline level. It's just all done from the top down.
Yeah, and so you've got one bloviating claim, which is this is the end of companies. Everything from now on is going to be individuals just managing teams of agents to do stuff with AI, all algorithmically all the time.
It's almost as if the internet thrives on bloviating claims.
Isn't it? It does. And there's the other bloviating claim, which is, no, this is doomed. The whole thing is going to crash and we'll be going back to the way things were within the next 2 years. And I would say both are probably not true. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yeah, bits of both. Or they'll both be true in different cases, but not all the time.
Yeah.
And there's always a bit of a sliding scale. But, I mean, that's less of a punchy headline, isn't it?
It is less of a punchy headline. And fundamentally, what all the headlines are trying to tap into is everybody would like to know, what is the future going to be? What is the end result of all this going to be? What is the thing that I can safely invest in now so that I'll be okay in 5 years' time? And we're going to give you the non-catchy headline, which is nobody knows. And the reality, I think of Simon Wardley's model for how technology evolves. And one of the patterns that is really reliable is that the practice that goes with a new technological shift co-evolves along with that technology, but lags it by some time. So the prior example, where you saw a massive shift in how a particular team worked, was DevOps, and it came along with the idea of cloud computing. And I'm long enough in the tooth to remember a time when we had servers in our office. So
I remember that as well. It was at I won't name the supermarket.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were servers. It was quite an old school situation.
Quite old school. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, which is interesting. It was in the 2000s, and people still are in that world now. But it went from this world where there'd be someone whose job it was to look after the servers, and they would have named each of the servers with a quirky name based on some sort of sci-fi comedy that they liked.
Sex doll.
And so, is that really one that was...
No, I just remember, yeah, people did have a special relationship with their servers.
Oh, they did, yeah.
They did,
and
yeah, very loving.
They were like pets to them.
That's a better description than a sex doll.
I mean, you don't know with some of these people, but anyway... that you had that and you had a lot of skills that were based around how you maintain it. It was expensive to do as well, and you'd have to buy in bits of hardware and upgrade it manually. Everything was very time consuming. If you wanted a new server, it took weeks to order it, fit it in the rack, get it all set up and configured correctly. And what we shifted to with cloud was, now it's less pets, it's more just a faceless herd of cattle, and you can just add them and take them away instantaneously. There is no need to have a facility in your office anymore. Right,
when you lose that kind of physical attachment to something, it just does strip it of any kind of pseudo relationship that you can have with it.
Yeah, and that meant fundamentally the people who were doing that server maintenance job, their job went away. It was totally disrupted, and an entirely new field of DevOps evolved. But it took several years for DevOps to actually shape, and for the principles and the ways of working to evolve and become stable enough that you could then give it a name and get a job as a DevOps person. And I think it's very likely that there's a corollary to what's happening now, that there is this big shift, and practices are co-evolving along with technology. And I know from chatting with someone who's working at a company who is exploring what can you do with AI agent coding swarms, and somebody termed this as it's not a stochastic parrot anymore, it's a whole flock of stochastic parrots, which is the AI agent swarm. And the name for a flock of parrots, the collective noun, is a pandemonium, which delightful and poetic. But what you're finding is they have a series of practices that are growing around how do you protect against the worst things happening. How do you make sure that the AI agent's work is being checked properly and the security measures are in place correctly?
Right, so it's kind of like how, industrialisation didn't negate the need for human input at all. It's just the humans had to monitor the machines and recalibrate the machines.
That kind of
corollary. So it's kind of it is a shift in work, and maybe there's fewer humans required, but it doesn't go away entirely.
Exactly, doesn't go away entirely. So do you get then potentially smaller companies, but more companies? Might be the way it goes.
So it's not all doom and gloom?
Maybe not, or maybe it is. We just don't know. But it's really hard if you're in this moment and like jump back to when you were someone whose whole career had been about managing co-located servers, and now that career is going away. Like, that's a really destabilizing thing, and you want to know, when will this come back, or what should I learn next in order to keep me safe?
Right,
and those questions aren't obvious, especially in the moment. You've got to wait a few years for it to shake out. Yeah,
and it reminds me of a kind of hot buzzword of today, which is the portfolio career, right? Where because people just don't know, you kind of got to spread your bets a bit and try and have a few different ways that you can make money.
That does
hustle
make
harder.
sense.
No, it's not hustle harder. That's one interpretation of it.
Yeah.
We advise
just
you not to hustle harder.
4 full-time jobs at the same time.
Please don't do that. But yeah, I think we've talked about this in past episodes as well. Like, if you look at one person's job, you can kind of put it through a different frame, and you can see that actually there are distinct, valuable things that make up that job that you could compartmentalise and sell them separately to people who need them. It's not an easy shift.
Not an easy shift, but it's a good exercise, isn't it? We talked about it as snowmobiling, I would imagine, or decomposition recombination.
Something like that.
Those are the ideas, aren't they? We'll see if we can find that past episode. That one sounds like it was a while ago, but yeah, now might be a good time to think about that, decomposing what it is that you do, and especially thinking about what it is that you do from the perspective of your organisation. Like, what are you hired for actually, not what are you hired for officially? That's a fun one to unpick. I'm
coming back to Geoff and his story. So how would Geoff how could he decompose and recombine, or whatever the phrase was you just used, in a way that would enable him to do work that he doesn't hate doing, but is a bit more resilient in the face of the uncertainty of where all this is going?
That's a good question. I think Geoff in this example is probably relatively resilient, because if he is a tinkerer and he's somebody who is getting in at the systems of how things work, he's now just got a new tool. So it was previously Excel spreadsheets, and it was a famous bon mot that every SaaS startup's major competitor was an Excel spreadsheet maintained by someone called Geoff. And that's because those Excel spreadsheets, they ran businesses. And it was fascinating to realise that Amazon, even though the customer-facing parts are all absolutely automated and optimised and tuned to the nth degree, there are as many parts of the business easily that are run by people emailing spreadsheets back and forth, and it just happens everywhere. So what Geoff has next is this capability to write more powerful macros, effectively, more powerful tools that can automate more of his world.
But how does he navigate the kind of encroaching protocolization of his tools? Like, how can he stay happy in that world?
Yeah, that's going to be the journey, isn't it? Because inevitably, the evolution that we see over the next few years will be security teams putting proximity sensors in place, and Geoff coming up with paper cups, and security teams demanding password resets, and Geoff coming up with sticky notes. And so...
just see it as a game. Just play the game, Geoff.
You play the game.
They're going to keep coming after you. You've just got to stay one step ahead of them. Is that it? That's the moral of the story.
That's basically it. Stay one step ahead. But it's a tale as old as time itself. There is this is unfair characterisation, but we saw this loads when I worked for a company who they provided optimization tools to really big brands. And optimization tools are designed to be A/B testing tools. So the idea is you can install it on your website, and then you can run statistically valid A/B tests and learn what works better. And that's great. And some of the customers were using it for that. But most of the customers, if we're honest, were using it so the marketing team could get around the engineering department, because they wanted to change the website way, way faster than the IT or engineering department had capacity to do. So we saw this pattern again and again. The marketing team would get access to this tool by claiming they wanted to do A/B testing experiments.
When actually they just wanted to like change a headline to one that they liked more.
Yep, or add in a JavaScript-based form that then they could just do things with,
right, or just,
without having to get it signed off.
Or just update product information so that it's not inaccurate anymore.
All of those sorts of things.
Anything and everything.
Yep. One of the clients ended up, I think they A/B tested their way to a form which worked really well, but they carried on running that form just in an instance based on hacky JavaScript for the next 5 years. This is a huge company that I can't say the name of, but this sort of thing happens everywhere. It's all sort of duct tape and string. What then happens inevitably is something the marketing department do caused us downtime, breaks something important, money stops flowing, people get upset. At which point the engineering department then shut down the ability of the A/B testing tool to make that many changes, and the marketing team are back where they started, and it just goes round in that cycle again and again and again. And it's different incentives in the organisation, aren't there? Some people get in trouble if there's a security breach or a break or downtime, and some people get in trouble if they're not moving faster, breaking things and innovating.
Or updating wrong information.
Yep.
Yeah. It's always a tussle.
Always a tussle. And that's where Geoff will find himself. And I think, for the dear listener, I'm interested to think where do you sit within maybe that tussle? What are other tussles that are happening in your organisation? And what do they reveal about maybe some of the real incentives at play, or some of the dynamics that are going to keep playing out in similar ways over time? I think that's the real moral of the story might be that, which is we don't know exactly the details of how this technology is going to play out, but we can probably predict how the dynamics are going to play out in terms of people and their reactions to one another's reactions.
Right, yeah, that's the only guarantee. That's going to keep happening, as it always has happened.
Unintended consequences all the way.
Just expect to keep playing the game.
Yeah. And I think one final reframe to throw out, which is something we were talking about yesterday, is for anyone who works in a kind of product team or a sprint team, a scrum team, that sort of thing. If you're working with or working in a team that does sprints and delivers software and goes through a process of get some requirements, turn them into user stories and design mock-ups, and then hand over to developers who then build it, who then test it, who then ship it. If you've got that sort of system going on, then flip yourself up to the position of the executive or the CEO at the company. From their perspective, what they're doing is using natural language to come and prompt your team as to what they would like to have happen. And they are telling you some stuff and you're feeding some stuff back, and in the end you're agreeing to make some software for them, to write some code for them, and then at some point you do a demo where you show them the code that you've written and show them how it works, and they tend to then either be delighted or ask you to make some changes. And what becomes clear is that as far as they're concerned, you're just a really, really slow LLM coding bot. Because they don't know 95% of what's going on under the hood. They don't understand how you do anything you do. And being frank, you're probably not very good at explaining what you do. And even if you could, they probably don't care. They're assuming you're doing your job really well. Well, they're also assuming that the vibe coding robots are doing their job well. And what we're seeing, I think, potentially there is a classic disruption play in the world of Clayton Christensen and the Innovator's Dilemma and all that sort of stuff. Disruption is like Google Docs to Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word, much more fully featured, much more like loads and loads of features, and secure, enterprise grade, all of that good stuff.
Don't forget Clippy.
Clippy, yes. Invaluable. Indispensable, many would say. And then Google Docs showed up, and when it first started, it was absolutely rubbish. But it was free, and it enabled people to work in a radically different way that was way more fast and efficient than emailing Microsoft Word docs around.
Right, and ultimately it didn't go anywhere. It just got more and more popular. So I can see why that's a useful corollary, actually.
Yeah.
Basically, enough people were willing to take the risks that it came with for whatever gains that they got or thought they got. And so, yeah, no, that's good. I think, trying to kind of put yourself in an executive's shoes as seeing vibe coding as just an immediate alternative to a 2-week sprint.
Yeah.
That certainly is
I could get a 2-week sprint done in 20 minutes.
Right.
And it does what I said, not what it thought I said.
Or even if it doesn't quite do what I said and I get something that's 50% there, well, maybe that feels quite comparable to my past experience doing proper sprints.
Yeah.
So when you put it through that sort of lens, it does start to make more sense. Not to say that it's always a good idea, of course, but it starts to seem less insane.
Yes, it does. So yeah, I think that's the thinker to leave the episode on, isn't it?
And the last rays of sun have moved off this bench and it's now very cold.
So we'll raise a toast to Geoff and his vibe coding spreadsheet apparatus, and we'll see you next time.
If you are a Geoff, by the way, we'd love to hear about you and your tinkering.
Oh yeah, tell us what you've been tinkering with, and tell us what security measures they've tried to put in place.